Hello, welcome to the Kitchen Spy. My name is Kate and this is another recipe video, and this time this is for doner kebab and a gluten-free flatbread. The doner kebab recipe is from the Pinch of Nom cookbook, so I can't take any credit at all for that, but it is a really good recipe, really simple, hardly any ingredients but very tasty, and it does actually taste like a doner kebab, which is good news because that's what it's supposed to be. And this time we know exactly what's gone into it because we're making it at home from our own simple ingredients and not buying it from a kebab house. So if you are already a subscriber, thanks very much. And if you are new here and you feel like you might want to see recipe videos, food hauls and meals of the week, then please give the subscribe button a click and we hope to see you on some future videos. So here are the ingredients, and I will leave the ingredients in the description box down below. So as you can see, it's literally just spices and meat. So we've got here half a teaspoon of onion granules, 1 teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of garlic granules and 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. So all store cupboard ingredients really. Then on this one we've got half a teaspoon of coriander, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of dried mixed herbs, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and it says 1 teaspoon of salt, but I've just put half in, and then afterwards we'll use black pepper. And here we've got 500 grams of 5% fat minced beef. So this is the Pinch of Nom cookbook. They've got 2 books out, but this is the first one, and it really is a great book. There's so many tasty recipes in it. I've cooked loads of things from it and everything has been an absolute winner. So I would heartily recommend this book. I think the published price is about £20, but I'm sure I didn't pay that, and I think I got it from a supermarket like Asda or Tesco or somewhere. So literally all we have to do to make the doner kebab is just mix everything together and pile it into a £2 loaf tin like I've got here. So you just lightly grease the tin. I'm just using a few sprays of my favourite spray oil, and then I'm just going to wipe it round with some kitchen roll just to make sure that it's fully coated. And then we literally just put everything all together in the food processor and blitz it until it's all mixed together like this. If you haven't got a food processor, I'm pretty certain this would still work without putting it through a processor, so don't be put off by that. Then all we need to do is just put it into the tin and just make sure that it is firmly pushed into all of the corners so that it gets a shape. As the cooking process takes place, the meat shrinks and it tends to pull away from the sides of the tin anyway, but if you've got a nice square shape, it's just easier to get really thin slices at the end. So I'm just removing, as you can see there, the blade because it was getting a bit awkward to get it out, so that just made it easier. It's quite a sticky mixture, and I probably could have done this with my hands, but I just felt better doing it with a spatula. I don't like touching things like this with my hands if I can help it. So yeah, just pressing it down so that it becomes a real kind of homogeneous mix of the meat and all of the spices, and honestly, this recipe could not be any more simple. So you need to preheat the oven to 180C, 160 fan or gas mark 4. And then what we're going to do with this is we're going to cover it with foil and put it in the oven. So here's the foil, and I think I was about 35 when I found out that you should use foil by actually putting the shiny side next to the food. My eldest sister, who sadly is no longer with us, she taught me that. Yeah, amazing what you don't know. And anyway, I know that now, so shiny side down, and that goes into the oven for about an hour. And then I'm just going to get on with making the flatbreads, and again, hardly any ingredients. So here I've got 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt, and also I've got a teaspoon of xanthan gum because I'm using gluten-free flour, but if obviously you're using normal flour, then you don't need to use that. Then I have got here a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, so extra virgin olive oil I'm using, but any oil would do. And then the recipe actually called for a teaspoon of maple syrup or sugar syrup, and I haven't got that, so I used golden syrup, and this recipe worked just fine. So I think it just needs some kind of syrupy sweetness. Then 260 grams of Dove gluten-free plain flour, or ordinary plain flour if you don't need them to be gluten-free, and then about 225 mils of water. So we just need to mix everything together. So we need a mixing bowl, and I'm just going to put in the flour now. So again, this is the gluten-free flour, and then I'm going to be putting in the other dry ingredients, so the baking powder, the salt, and the xanthan gum that I'm using, and then just give those a big old mix so that they're all thoroughly combined before we add the wet ingredients. So I'm firstly going to add the golden syrup or maple syrup or sugar syrup, whatever you're using, and then I'm going to add the oil as well, and then we're just going to add not all of the water because we want to see how the dough is looking and give ourselves some leeway. So just add in the sugar syrup there, or any syrup, whichever we're using, and the oil, just making sure we get as much of the oil out as possible. And then we'll add a splash of water and start to mix the ingredients together. Actually made a gluten-free flatbread before in the olden days before my husband was diagnosed as celiac. Then I used to make my own naan bread, so this was a bit of an experiment, and it kind of worked okay. There wasn't any real issues, so I think I would probably do it again. So as you can see, I've just mixed it together till it resembles kind of breadcrumbs, and now I'm just going to go in with my hand and combine everything together into a ball, so a ball of dough, and then just give it a little knead. You don't have to knead it very much because there's no yeast or anything in there, and actually there's no gluten in this flour to actually get expanding. Then once we've done that, we just need to cover it with a tea towel for about 30 minutes. Then once we've done that, we're going to be making, the recipe actually said for this that it made 6 flatbreads, but I want to make, rather than having it as the side, I want to make it one of the main components of the dish. So I'm actually going to be making 4 flatbreads out of this. And I also, I wasn't really bothered about the shape, and as you can see here, they're certainly not flatbread shape when I rolled them out, but anyway, so on to a floured surface, and this kitchen top it's an oak kitchen top, and it's properly sealed, and it gets cleaned quite often, so it's fine for me to roll things out on. Now when I'm portioning things, I find it better to roll it out first of all into a kind of flattish circle, and then it's easier just to get the portions that you wanted. And like I said, I'm going to be making 4 flatbreads. So take each quarter in turn and just roll it into a ball, and if you need it a little bit more at this point, it doesn't matter, but if you roll it into a fairly smooth ball and then roll it flat, so that it is quite thin, because obviously, well, not obviously, but we are going to be cooking them on a pan on the stove, so they're not going to cook for too long, so we need to make sure that they're quite thin. So I'm quite happy with the raggedy edges here because, as I say, this is going to be a main component of the dish, and I'm just going to serve it on the base, and I'm going to be piling the doner kebab meat and salad on top of it. So I just repeated that 4 times, and then I've got my 4 flatbreads which are ready to cook over at the stove. But just before that, I'm going to get the doner kebab out of the oven, so it's had its hour. In the recipe, they actually say cook it for an hour and 20 minutes, but I have done this before, and I think that is too long, in my opinion. Sorry, Pinch of Nom ladies. So I cooked it for just an hour, and as you can see, there are juices coming out of it, and it's moved away from the side of the tin. And then I'm going to pop that back in the oven, uncovered, for another 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes, I'm just getting it out of the oven and I'll show you what it looks like then. So it's gone a bit browner on the top and even more juices have escaped, but it's looking quite firm and it's almost like a great big burger patty. So looking forward to that. So I've turned the oven off and I'm just popping it back in there to wait while I cook the flatbreads. So I've got a fairly large pan here and I'm just spraying it with some oil, and I want to apologize for the mess around the ring under the plate there. I'd been boiling potatoes earlier and I obviously they overflowed, and I thought that by putting the plate there you guys wouldn't be able to see that stain. Clearly my set dressing skills need to be improved. Anyway, so I've just placed the flatbread on and I am turning it over as and when a few times until it feels cooked, and I just tasted a little bit of the edge just to make sure that it was cooked. And these are really simple. They're a bit harder, I think, because they're gluten free, but then once it's cooked you just pop it onto the plate whilst you do the rest of them, and cover it with a tea towel so that it remains both warm and soft. So here's a really proud moment for me. So this is the first thing I've grown this year, well, ever, I think, that I have eaten. So this is the lettuce, which I grew on a tray in the kitchen window, and we ate it with this salad and it was very delicious. So I'm very proud. Anyway, here's the plate of food all finished. So I've got the flatbread on the bottom, as you can see. Then I've got a quarter of the doner kebab meat here, and I've served that with the salad, including homegrown lettuce and some jalapenos and also some lemon juice, which I always like to sprinkle over my kebabs. So the flatbread came out at 299 calories. The doner kebab meat was 160 calories, and then I've got salad and dressing, etc. That's sriracha sauce. And so the whole plate came to 508 calories, and it was really, really delicious. So there we are, there's the recipe. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you give it a go. And if you do, please let me know how you get on. As I said earlier, I definitely recommend the Pinch of Nom cookbook. They do some really tasty meals in there, especially if you're looking to lose a bit of weight or perhaps just eat a bit more healthily. They are generally quite low calorie. I think they used to follow Slimming World, and I think that's where most of their recipes came from, but they've got another book out now. This is not an advertisement video, by the way. I'm certainly not being paid by anybody. I just do honestly recommend the book. So anyway, that's it. Thanks so very much for watching. As you know, I really appreciate your support, whether you're a subscriber or not. It's really great that you are here and that you like the videos. So if you do like the videos, please give it a thumbs up. I'll be back on Wednesday with Meals of the Week, and then on Friday with a food haul, and that will be an Asda food haul, so quite a big one of my big shops in between shopping locally. So take care of yourself. I hope you are well. I hope you stay well, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.